ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा गणपतये नमः। ओम श्री सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमो नारायणाय। Om Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 27th of February 2025. I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages and to Paramatma, Bhagavan residing in the heart of every being. We have just concluded very nice puja and abhishekam that went on for over 14 hours or so during this auspicious time of Mahashivratri. So to mark this auspicious occasion, I want to talk today further about Bhagavan Shankar, about the connection between true compassion and non-entanglement. So in the case of Bhagavan Shankar, Lord Shiv, this is a profound illustration of spiritual detachment and selfless love combined together. Shiva embodies unconditional compassion while remaining unattached to the outcomes, emotions, and disturbances that might arise from his actions. This balance of karuna, which is compassion, and asangatva, non-entanglement, is central to his divine nature. Right? So there's a combination of both of these qualities. So true compassion, or satya karuna, purna karuna, full compassion, as exemplified by Shiv, Bhagavan Shiv, is not driven by personal desires, attachments, or expectations. You see, so many times in our lives, we have compassion, but there is still some personal desire, some expectation, something we want from someone. Those things they tend to linger in people's minds. In the case of Bhagavan Shankar, which is a guide for us, it's not driven by any personal desire. The compassion he has, karuna, it is called, it is not driven by personal desire, not driven by attachments, not driven by expectations. This compassion arises from a deep realization of the interconnectedness of all beings. Everybody's interconnected, so there's compassion for all, while maintaining a higher spiritual perspective, right? So when we see the interconnection among everyone, our inner perspective increases. It just rises above, and our egotistical, our limited perspective diminishes. And that's the point here, that the arising of true compassion, it's from deep realization of the interconnectedness of all beings, while maintaining a high spiritual perspective. So this compassion of Bhagavan Shankar is unconditional. It is transformative, and it is beyond emotionalism. 3 points. So he bestows grace upon devotees and asuras alike. Anybody does tapasya, you get ashirwad milta hai. Why is that? That is the saintly quality. It's a unconditional, so that's something extraordinary. That quality is extraordinary. The second is the compassion is transformative. His compassion is not just about alleviating suffering, but elevating consciousness. The karuna Bhagavan or Bhagavan ke sant ki kaisi hoti hai, that they elevate, they alleviate suffering, reduce suffering, and elevate consciousness. So alleviate suffering and elevate the consciousness. That is a transformative aspect of compassion. And the third is that the compassion is beyond emotionalism. Unlike sentimental compassion that can lead to personal suffering, Shiva's karuna is pure and detached. So human beings get compassionate, they get attached and bound and torn, and all these things happen very quickly. That's not the case in enlightened saints or Bhagavan himself. That's not the case in them. That's the difference. Their karuna, in the case of Bhagavan Shankar, for example, it is a pure karuna, and it is detached at the same time. There's no getting stuck with somebody. What happens in our case, we have karuna, we have compassion, we have care for someone or some situation. We get easily stuck with that person, situation, circumstance. So to not be bound with anybody while having the highest karuna and duty and care and all that, that is liberated action. That is Jivan Mukti. बहुत सुंदर बात है ये, बहुत सुंदर. Actually, when we do the Shiv Abhishek and Puja Narchan sab hum karte, what is the actual goal? This is the goal, actually. to be in this state, to reach this stage. Other things come and go. Other things do come. We have some desires and all those things. Punyam is accumulated and all that. That is going to be there. But when that is accumulated, one doesn't hang on to it in an egotistical manner. It is being used, whatever action, whatever comes in our lives, it is being used as due to the prarabdha, due to the accumulation, without any kind of entanglement within, and it is used only for the benefit of all, seeing the interconnectedness of everybody. So the punyam this is a discussion we were having, after the puja actually today, because there was a question raised about this regarding the punyam. When you do any kind of sadhana, protracted, any kind of, you do Namah Shivaya mantra or Rudram Chamakam, kuch bhi mantra, any kind of adhyatmic sadhana, punyam is accumulated, right? So the point is that what do you do with it? And can it be lost also? Can it also be stolen or taken away? And that was an interesting point that was made by somebody who, from India we were talking to, that punyam can actually be taken by the devatas. That's an interesting point. Well, how can that be? That's an interesting idea altogether. That's because when punyam is accumulated, or it, when we do a lot of sadhana, you're going into a different kind of state altogether, because there's an effect that comes out of that good quality action. So then, unless one is really aware of the ego and how it functions, that punyam can, it's kind of stolen by our own ego essentially, and then in the form of, it's described in different ways, but it's something like that, and it can. It's like you don't get any punyam, then that's not good, So we don't want to destroy it. We want to really keep it intact and not be attached to that punyam also. Use it for whatever reason that needs to be used and leave it alone. So to go beyond pap and punyam is the Brahma Vidya. And that's the whole idea of asangatva and non-entanglement. It's a little difficult thing to understand, because when we do good works, punyam is accumulated. But when we do a lot of sadhana, one of the ideas is that, maybe it's more mythological or story-wise, it depends on how you look at it, but that the devatas, like Indra Devata or whatever, they want to take that away from you, because they don't want to lose their position. Because if you accumulate a lot of punyam, you wind up in the Svarga Loka. And this is written in the Gita also. Maybe it's not mythological, it's really more metaphysical. Because some human being has a lot of punyam, bahut punyam ho gaya. So then the devatas want to take that away, because then they'll lose their position, from where they are. This is like more Puranic kind of stories type of thing. But it just means, in my mind, I have something worth thinking about. It just means that when good punyam is accumulated, not to identify with it that this is mine. If it's there, leave it alone and do good things for all, seeing the interconnected of the whole humanity, and then interact in that way, without holding on to that sense that this is mine and I'm something. And, this is where the problem comes. It's like somebody who's very wealthy. Being very wealthy is fine. There's nothing wrong with being, doesn't mean a person is bound. But if a person is very, very wealthy and is using their wealth for benefit of all, seeing the interconnect in the right way, with mindfully and whatnot, bahut sundar baat hai. But then otherwise, ahankar, because I'm better than others. Look at how downtrodden others are. I'm something. I worked so hard in my life. And this, isme se kya hota hai? With this kind of vritti, aisi vritti mein se, punya ka nash ho jata hai. Whatever punyam is accumulated, it gets destroyed. Just like, so the good state of mind that we want to have, by seeing the interconnections of the humanity, of all of reality, then that will be transformative for others, to alleviate suffering of others, and to elevate consciousness. So it can be helpful to others to elevate one's own consciousness towards higher reality. And so this is how, when good action is performed, one recognizes it, there would be good result of that, but at the same time, one does not get drawn into that ego reaction that I'm something. That's the problem. That's where the trouble comes. The ahankar comes, or some internal battle occurs, You see, like in the case of this Vishwamitra Rishi, you know, the story that goes, right? That he's doing a lot of tapasya, and the story goes that Indra is like afraid. This guy will go into the Svargaloka, he'll do this, he'll do that. You know, so he sends his Apsara, Menka. He sends Ramba first, and she fails, and he sends Menka. You know, so he sends, and then she disturbs his tapasya, right? And then he becomes a grahastha. He has a daughter that Shakuntala is the daughter. The story goes on, and then he realizes that he was off track, and then goes back and becomes a Brahma Rishi later on. But the point here is that, you know, he's accumulating a lot of punyam, but he is still having vasanas from inside. You know, so this is what this means. You can accumulate punyam. Like right now, Sachin here just did this puja, for example. I can say, oh, okay, you know, some punyam is accumulated. But if the vasanas and internal transformation is not there for higher understanding of what Shivji really wants to give us, then one will keep spinning in circles only. This is what we were said before. Why sadhana doesn't take anybody anywhere? Because sadhana is done with this ahankar. That's the reason why. You know, it's done with the vasanas, and I still want this, and I want this, and I want this. You know, I want the fruit of my sadhana. Bhagavan dete hai fruit. Okay, take what you want and go. Aur kya isme? You know, then it ends right there. You see, phal milta hai. But if one who wants to reach the Brahmic consciousness, whatever the fruit may come, it's just given back to the Lord for the benefit of all. Aham vritti nahi rehti. And this is very difficult, very hard, because we're always wanting something. You know, okay, then that is Sakam Bhakti. That's fine. Nothing wrong. I also tell people, you have desires, ask everything from God. Because don't hold anything back. Ask everything that you want. Chodna nahi. But make sure it's not negative. Make sure it's good for others. And punyam comes, sadhana, you know, the fruit of that will come. Eventually this gyan occurs that we just want prasannata. Or eventually that occurs that whatever is thy will. Yeah, we still want certain things, you know, to happen. But when you are so brimming and so fulfilled with divine knowledge and higher realization, ichha rehti nahi. That's a very fact. It's like I was giving the example. If you have $500 billion in the bank account, abhi kya job kare, na kare, application, these things become meaningless. You know, that even if it's a job that somebody offers $70,000 job, $70,000 per year, $80,000. For most people, that's like a big thing. For someone who has $500 billion, abhi kya mil gaya job ke nahi mil gaya job? Kya farak padta hai? Aisi baat hai. You know, that is that beautiful verse in the Gita, you know, apuryamanam, om apuryamanam achalam pratishtam samudramapah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sa shantim apnoti na kamakami. You know, when apuryamanam achalam pratishtam samudramapah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve. When all desires enter into the heart, just as rivers all enter into the ocean, and the ocean is unperturbed, when we become oceanic from inside, तो फिर क्या ये सब, you know, पाप पुण्य मेरा तेरा this that कुछ नहीं रहता इसमें. आता है ठीक है, नहीं आता है ठीक है, because you're brimming with anand, the divine love. You see, so that's a different level altogether. वो एक अलग बात ही अलग है. And to evolve into that, to go into the, इसमें इसीलिए बहुत शास्त्रों का अभ्यास होना चाहिए, संतत्व आना चाहिए, saintliness, and this aham shunya bhav, कि मेरा 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 मेरा, you know, जीवात्मा is saying मेरा मेरा मेरा, और जो भगवान के जो दिव्य भक्त है, तेरा 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 तेरा, मेरा से तेरा. This is all. That's the difference. It's a change from one to the other. Thou art all, O Lord, as said in the Christian tradition. How beautiful. Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to say, the path of thou. You know, you are everything. आप सर्वस्व आप ही है बस. तो फिर क्या चाहिए? आपकी इच्छा ही मेरा जीवन. मेरी इच्छा मेरा जीवन है, आपकी इच्छा मेरा जीवन. इसको निष्काम और अचल भक्ति कहते हैं. और इसमें जो आनंद है, उसका वर्णन ही कोई नहीं कर सकता. Who can describe that thing? That's why Mirabai is Mirabai. That's why Tukaram is Tukaram. That's why Tulsidas is Tulsidas. That's why Sant Kabir is Sant Kabir. That's why Premanand Swami, Brahmanand Swami, Muktanand Swami, ऐसे बड़े बड़े संत हो गए, गोपालानंद स्वामी, उनको कुछ नहीं चाहिए. They are there only for seva. They are placed by God to do something here. That's all. They don't want anything for themselves. Vivekanand Swami. Puri seva. They have there's no self-centered activity at all. None. So punyam, yeah, punyam to milta hai, but that's just all. Jo bhi milta hai. It could be money, it could be name, fame, this, that, could be X, Y, Z. Jo bhi milta hai, it is only used to exemplify the Lord, exemplify God, exemplify the benefit for humanity. One doesn't hold on to anything himself that I have become the me that becomes stronger. That doesn't happen. And if that doesn't happen, then there's no question of anybody taking any punyam or anything like that. Prashna hi nahi. Isme se to, it's like, the $500 billion person, is then worried about, somebody's taking $10 from him or something. It's something silly like that. Yeah, even if somebody takes $10 and steals $10, it has no consequence whatsoever. Aisi baat hai. But when our vritti has reached Parabrahma, like in the case of like Mahashivratri, who is Bhagavan Shankar? Like these two qualities we're looking at: asanga bhav, non-entanglement, detachment from actions, fruits, freedom from personal bias, transcendence over Maya. Bahut kuch hai. There's so many examples. The consuming of the halal, the poison, the granting of boons to asuras, meditative withdrawal. Sabko ashirwad dete. It's the feeling, may all be blessed. Right now there's some people, I won't give the names, some certain individuals in the world which people hate. Absolutely, they hate this terrible, terrible, horrible person. Maybe what they're doing is horrible and harmful. But can we still wish good for that person? Kitna difficult hai. When somebody or some group or somebody has caused a lot of harm to others, like terrible harm. How is it possible to still wish well for them? Even though we know what they're doing is harmful, we separate that out. That's harmful, but the internal dislike for that person, it's not there. Kitni difficult baat. It's, my God. This is where that oceanic joy opens. Only when we can reach such a state where there is meditative withdrawal. Meditative withdrawal means what? That true compassion does not mean constant intervention, but acting only when necessary. When it's necessary, you act, be detached. Don't bother with this sansar too much. The things are coming and going. Kya isme kiske saath kya lena dena hai? Why bother with it so much? We're so drawn and upset all the time. Most people are saying, this terrible thing is happening, this terrible thing is happening, this terrible thing is happening. Okay, it may be happening, but why bother with it so much? Do what you can. Whatever is jo dharma hai, wo karna. Most of it, 99.999%, we have no control or even any influence over that. Just turn on CNN or turn on Fox or any news channel for 1 hour. Do we have any control over any of that stuff that they're talking about? No, I don't think anybody has any control over any of it. Maybe we have control, maybe some influence here and there. We cannot control those things. What we can do is control our lives, change our lives, be free. Otherwise, we carry burdens of things that are completely out of our purview. Recognize that it's out of our control, then not to give it too much importance. Do your duty, be aware of what's going on, move on. Because the attention has to be placed on higher consciousness. Dheo Narayano Hari. What is the goal? The goal is that are the people in this world should be stuck with all of them and all the madness that they're involved in, or the goal is Bhagavan Narayan. Goal kya hai? If we don't realize this, we could drown in the sansar, Bhavasagar. Bhavasagar mein doob jate because of the chaos created by others. Whatever they're doing, if you're in a position to do something, it's one. Like if somebody's a police officer or something like that, okay, they still have a boundary. They have to follow certain rules, certain restrictions to intervene with criminals, whatever they have to do. That's their duty. That's their job. But that's not our job, right? I mean, we're not anybody's a police officer or anything like that. We have to do what is our job. And those people are doing their job. You see, so And then if that needs to be changed, then there's a mechanism for that. And there's a lot of, those are bigger discussions. But at the end of the day, ये संसार ऐसी वस्तु है कि इसके साथ, if we try to get too involved in that, we will get entrapped in it. And this is the point of Bhagavan Shiv, that is, that he is, of course, beyond emotionalism, but he has a meditative withdrawal. You see him sitting in dhyan. वो ध्यान में बैठे. ध्यान में, why is spending time in dhyan? Why is that? Because ध्यान में ही आनंद है. भगवान की भक्ति में आनंद है. ये सब worldly experience keep running and tormenting others and getting kicked around 1,000 times trying to find happiness. Do our duty, realize the nature of the world. Realize the nature of the world. It is not going to change. People are trying to change the world. Nobody has ever been able to change the world. Yeah, you can influence it a little bit here and there, but the fundamental human nature doesn't change like that. We have to change, transform ourselves, and maybe a few people might be able to transform, or maybe even larger numbers of people. If they do, that's fine. If they don't, that's also fine, as long as we are transformed. That's the key. And that's the difficult part. That is where the whole spiritual technology lies. It's the balance between compassion and detachment. Need to have compassion and good interaction with all. But at the same time, there is an upliftment away from the mixture with the people where we get stuck inside. It's worthy of a lot of meditation. These 2 points, compassion and detachment. Help others, but do not become bound by their struggles. You see? Act selflessly without expecting recognition or reward. It's very difficult. We do some good work somewhere. We want to tell, at the minimum, we want to tell somebody, I sponsored this, I did that, we want to tell somebody. And then that's one, the other problem is if we don't tell anybody, it's anonymous, and I'm not telling. So one's ego still comes about. Oh, anonymous person, that's still me. I'm anonymous. Mera ahankar isme aa gaya. Ahankar catches the person both ways. See, that's a problem, right? So when you do act selflessly without expecting reward or recognition, that's not easy because people want that. That's why they act selflessly. Many individuals, not everybody. But then the person says, no, I don't want any reward. I don't want any recognition. Just want to be anonymous completely, not let anybody know. But then internally, watch out. Look inside. Is there an ego of being anonymous? वो भी हो सकता है. So that's another dangerous thing. See, engage with the world, but do not let it dictate your inner state. See, that's the point. World should not dictate the inner state. The Bhagavad Gita should dictate it. The New Testament should dictate it. The teachings of the great sages, that should dictate our inner state, not the not the madness of the world. Right? Recognize suffering, but do not drown in it. Hold the poison without being poisoned. Hold the poison without being poisoned. Kitni sundar baat hai. This is all to learn from the charitra of Bhagavan Shankar. Bhagavan Shankar ke jo Shivratri, what is the point of Shivratri? What is the point of Shiv Upasana in general? Doesn't matter when you do it. You can do it any time. Not just Shivratri. Shivratri is one. It's fine. It's good. It's a better heightened connection. But at the same time, what is the goal? This realization has, if we maintain this realization, then really we are tapping into Shiv Tattva. Otherwise, we're tapping into the Punya and Pap cycle. And we're getting trapped inside that thing. And if we get trapped inside that, it's trouble. The case of Vishwamitra Rishi, he was a great yogi, a lot of tapasya, so many siddhis and so many things he had, but he couldn't let go of his ahankar. He couldn't let go of that. And because he couldn't let go of that, the vasanas were still hidden inside. So then these ladies came, that's the story, whatever it was. But, so Indra sends these 2 apsaras to disturb his sadhana. Because he has the vasana, because he still has ahankar. You see, if he doesn't have ahankar, then he goes beyond the Svargaloka. Svarga is of no consequence. This is the whole point of this Vedanta, is that Svargalok and all these things, whatever they are limited also, and a person's punyam is finished, the person falls right back into this Prithvi Lok. Shinya punyam rutte loke vishanti. Aisa koi verse hai Gita mein. So goal is not to go into the Svarga Lok. The goal is to not come into these lokas at all, any of them. And that is possible once we are beyond pap and punyam completely. But the actions performed are wonderful. They're very powerful. They're very good actions. But the internal intention can be, and if it is, to please God, to serve humanity, to be not stuck anywhere, and then in that state, the destination is far beyond the material world. The destination is not the material. That is the Shiv Tattva itself, the Vishnu Tattva itself. You see, the Paramatma itself, and that is the goal actually. The goal is not to be trapped due to pap and punyam and due to the vortex of desires that keep propping up. One desire comes, another comes, another comes, another comes. All these things. This goes back and forth. Pap and punyam. Swargalok mein jate hai, kabhi phir aate yahan aate. Narakalok, Swargalok, Maharlok. Different lokas are all there, and it's all within the same Brahmand, within the realm of the Brahmand. But if the destination is Brahma Vidya, to awaken completely into super consciousness, higher consciousness, how fantastic! These wonderful qualities that we have talked about today. We'll close with this again as a reminder. Compassion for all. Non-entanglement towards all. Bring them together. That is Shiv Bhagavan, Shankar Bhagavan. That is Shivratri. That is the Shiv Tattva actually. That is the transition from Jiv to Shiv. You see, now of course, once these things are there, ask, but don't forget, Sakam Bhakti is a starting point. Start there, because that's where we are. Most people we need this, we need this, we need this, we're in trouble here, this is going on, that's going on. He cleans it all up. Okay. You need protection, need good quality experiences, no doubt. But once that is there, once things are where they should be, continue towards higher consciousness. And then once we are in that nectarine, you're swimming in the nectar of Ananda, then kya prashna? You cannot even ask anything. It's impossible to ask, because one is flooded with divine wisdom and joy. There's no question of asking. Thy will be done. Whatever is your will, that will be my life. Completely. There's no question of karma virma ka koi prashna nahi rehta. Karma sab zero ho jate hain. See, it's actually very simple. When we come to that point, oh Lord, you are all. You are the all-doer, and thy will be done. Thy kingdom come, as it is in heaven, as it is on earth. So it is on earth. This is a Christian prayer. Very famous Christian prayer. And we say this in the Indian tradition also. Bhagavan is a Sarvakarta, the all-doer. It's completely, whatever is your wish, that's going to happen. I don't have any individual wish. Aapki ichha. Karenge sab kriya. Every action is done, but what is going to happen, what is available, what the way the life is to progress, that is your will. Yes, of course. Remember, but even with that, there's nothing wrong in asking for a very hassle-free life with good protection, good health, good wealth. Because we need those things. If you don't have those things, it's in big trouble. So ask for that. There's nothing wrong. But after we ask for it, after the prarthana is done, Bhagavan ki, if it comes about, fine. If it doesn't come about right away, fine. If it comes about later, fine. If it doesn't come about at all in one's lifetime, fine. That is the state of equilibrium, equanimity. Whatever may come because of our, we've done sadhana. Sadhana ka to phal milta hi at some point. Maybe this life, maybe next life, maybe some other time. That Paramatma knows when to give us what. But when we are no longer getting stuck inside our own internally generated vortex that this is not happening, that's not happening, this is missing, this is, when we get into all of that, and then people start blaming God. They say, "I itna kiya tere ke liye, you cannot do this." Somebody, I remember somebody, I won't give the name of the person. The person said, said to Paramatma, "आप तो अनंत ब्रह्मांड के राजा है और एक नौकरी नहीं देते, ये क्या है? I need the job, I need this, I need that." So it's like a fight with God, right? तो इसीलिए हमारी संस्कृति में, you don't need to fight. साधना करो, नमः शिवाय मंत्र करो, संकल्प लिखो, जॉब चाहिए, ये चाहिए, मनी चाहिए, गाड़ी चाहिए, XYZ, क्या चाहिए, mantra karo. Once you start doing sakam bhakti, the tension goes away. Then you're latching on to the higher. So it requires faith. But then let it go. Then there's no tension. That's the advantage of sakam bhakti. And I had one Swaminarayan sadhu said it beautifully. जब हम sakam bhakti करते हैं, तो इसमें benefit क्या है कि भगवान के नजर में हम आ जाते हैं. Okay, Bhagavan, he said, okay, it doesn't matter, you want things from me, but you're coming to me somehow. Okay, I'm gonna start looking at you now, start looking after you. You see, so वो जो निष्काम की जो बात है, वो तो बहुत ऊपर लेवल की बात है. Very few people have ever reached that. और उसमें भी stages है, वो तो एक different subject ही है. But for most of us, nobody wants health problems and mental health problems and financial problems and legal problems. Who the heck? We said, we don't want all this thing. We want best quality. That's why Rudram and Chamakam gives you that actually. Chamak jo mantra hai, isme to sanchame, mayaschame, priyamchame, all these beautiful mantras are there. Isme yehi likha hai कि everything that is the best quality in the material world you have is yours. You don't need to worry about it. And at the same time, bhukti or mukti. That is a beautiful thing. So the things that you want, you get satisfied. Everything is good where it should be. Continue the sadhana. Sometimes what happens, we get what we're looking for. Bhagavan ko salam. Thank you, sir. Goodbye. Bhagavan Shankar ko abhi fir milenge kabhi. Shivling ko. Now I got what I wanted. Okay, easy to forget God. That's the mistake. Unko bhulna nahi. Continue the sadhana. And eventually, as we continue further, bhakti increases, jnana increases, Vedanta knowledge increases. Everything increases, and then whatever is needed in the worldly life, you don't even have to ask for that in that sense. He's going to take care of it. Because yoga kshema vaham viham, Bhagavan Krishna guarantee dete. I'm giving you guarantee that you want to come to me, I'll take care of everything, your basic stuff, whatever you need, so you can actually come to me. But you want to do 10 other things, then you do those 10 other things. That's all. Aisi baat hai. So these are some of just Sachin's contemplations on this on this interesting question about punyam and papam. Baki aapki ichha, aap bhi manan kijiye. It's not that Sachin knows everything about this. Just a humble contemplation, jiski aur drishti hai isme. But I would love to hear from you. Sachin is not knowing the end all and be all. He's just a very humble, just a very last level individual trying to contemplate on this. Baki to bahut aage ke sab bahut log hai on these subjects, on these, to really understand these things. Would love to hear from anyone who has more insight into this, that we can all grow together. Particularly this sevak can grow further on this path. But these are beautiful. Let me just recap very quickly these 4 points and we'll close. Help others, but do not become bound by their struggles. Point 1. Point 2, act selflessly without expecting without expecting recognition or reward. Act selflessly without expecting recognition or reward. That's point number 2. Point number 3, engage with the world, but do not let it dictate your inner state. Engage with the world, do not let it dictate your inner state. Kitni sundar baat hai. And the 4th point, recognize suffering, but do not drown in it. Hold the poison without being poisoned. These are 4 fantastic points that we learned from Bhagavan Shankar. So on this fantastic auspicious day where the Shivratri has just passed, may Bhagavan Shankar, the great Mahashakti Devi, Bhagavan Ganesh Ji, may all the incarnations of God is only one, may they give us wisdom to evolve beautifully further, to continue our journey towards the highest of realization. And may every human being find happiness, grace, no conflict, lots of good health, good wish, may all benefit in every direction. With that bhavana and prarthana, we are closing. This is like this kind of this recording right now is like the last leg of this the Shivratri Puja. We just finished it, and then the morning satsang. What a great blessing that is. So thank you all so much. We'll pick it up next time. Let's do the closing mantra. Om kara charan kritam va kayajam karmajam va shravananajam va manasam va paradam vitam abhitam va sarvam etashamasva. Jai Jai Karunabde Shri Mahadeva Shambho. Om Divilingaya Namah, Urdhvalingaya Namah, Anandalingaya Namah, Dwadash Jyotirlingaya Namo Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Om Aim Rim Klim Chamundaye Viche Swaha. Om Shri Radha Krishna Arpanamastu. Rim Swaha.